Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. I am your co-host, Mike Shalau from Is Was Brewing, and I'm here with your other co-host, Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple. Chris, how you doing?
Doing pretty good so far.
Good.
Doing for now. I'm Surge still.
Yeah, I think you've been Surge more than Surge has been Surge in the
Well,
last
if
few
you'll
shows.
remember, when I mess up,
Then you're Surge.
no, then I'm me.
Oh, right.
When I do it right, then we just say
Right.
the Fade Master's in the house.
Right, a totally real person, the Fade Master.
Right, a totally real person, the Fade Master.
Yep.
So,
What's new, Chris? Sorry for your loss.
yeah, it's funny. You already said that to me, so you were waiting to say it again. I will
like to
say
bring it
this.
up. Turn the knife.
I have been. You're talking about the Bears beating the Eagles. I
course.
have no special dislike for the Bears. What was much worse was the week before when the Cowboys had the largest comeback in their franchise history after being down 21-0 to the Eagles. That hurt.
It must just taste even better that it's the Cowboys that are doing it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now that one, but the Bears, I can't say I necessarily was sure of it, but I was not at all surprised.
You're
that it
kind
was
of wearing
happening.
Bears colors now. Or you think you're going to switch?
Probably not. Although I did after the Cowboys game. My wife asked me how it went, and I said, I hate football. I'm never watching it again. And she believed me. Next week, she's like, I thought you weren't. I was like wearing Eagles stuff. Like, I thought you said you weren't. I was like, what? I just looked at her. I was like, I'm not. I am not ever watching football again. Anyway, I got to go watch the game.
I'm a big Bears guy now, that meaning that I watched one game this year.
There's a lot of them out in the city now. That I've noticed. After they beat the Eagles, there's a lot of people wearing Bears stuff around now.
I went to a game with Jude, whose family has some tickets that are pretty awesome, and for a couple of years, they've been asking me to go to one of the opening games, and I'm like, I don't know anything about football. I haven't watched a football game in 10 years. He's like, doesn't matter. It'll just be fun. So this year I finally was like, okay, I'll go. And we sit down. They're like first row, like kind of in the end zone. And sit down next to someone else who's clearly a Bears fan, got there a little later than us, and asked me how McCarthy was doing. They were playing the Vikings, and I had no idea that was maybe it's not even his name, but they're asked about the quarterback on the Vikings, and I was like, how do you look? And I was like, bad. And he's like, good. I'm like, yeah, there you go. All right, that's about as much football as I understand.
Yeah, well, that's okay. So the Eagles suck, and that's all there is to it. What's new with you?
Not too much. We had a fun, the fun misadventures of receiving deliveries in the Chicago snow today, where they haven't plowed our street yet. So we get a delivery of kegs and go out to get it, and immediately get stuck on ice on the forklift that has zero traction tires. It's not meant to be driven outside even. So about 15 minutes of our neighbors getting mad at us and honking at us. We're blocking the street and trying to get this thing moving.
And it weighs a ton and is very dangerous.
I mean, part of the problem is it doesn't weigh enough. Like it's not. It gets even less traction when there's no load on it. So it's like just trying to rock it back and forth.
But that sounds dangerous. That thing tips over, it kills you.
Yeah, but for the love of the game, gotta get your
love of the forklift game.
Love the saisons. Yeah, that fork life chooses you, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was today.
That was today.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
okay.
that was today.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess. Was your Thanksgiving good?
Yeah, it was great. My parents came into town. Went to my cousin's house. Went to a baptism for another cousin's kid.
Oh, okay.
It's a big action-packed weekend.
Yeah.
First time been in a church in a minute. It's on the south side, so thought the Pope might be there.
Right. And
he was not.
Oh,
He was not.
one of his representatives was.
There's one of his representatives at every church. So, yeah. Which actually was a bishop, which my dad was very enamored with, which I was like, who cares?
There you go. It's above a cardinal.
No, it's not.
It's not a bishop?
Isn't a cardinal above? I think a cardinal's above a bishop.
Oh, I thought a bishop was higher.
I don't think so, but it's
Okay.
been a minute. I was an altar server. I would have known this at one point, but
I think a bishop's higher.
I'm going to Google it now. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
It's cardinal, arch-cardinal, then bishop, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, while you're looking that up,
Cardinal. Yes, a cardinal is higher in the
Oh.
hierarchy than a bishop. It's
There you
important
are.
to note that all cardinals are bishops.
got it.
There you go.
Got it. Cool.
We
Well, my Catholic upbringing has done me well.
Bishop, archbishop, cardinal.
Got it.
I was doing hand motions upward
Right.
in an upward trajectory for those
Right.
not watching the
Right. I got it
podcast.
wrong. I said cardinal, arch-cardinal, bishop, but it's
Yeah.
bishop, archbishop.
You were all
cardinal.
around it.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
Basically there.
good enough.
So
How
now
about
that
you?
we've gotten through with that and people are screaming silently to themselves, just hand in palm in face, I'll say I also have we talked about we lost a couple episodes. And then,
The best episodes.
Yeah, and then there's 2 episodes upcoming, though, and one of them, so I just put out one, which I thought had already gone out, but it's gone out now, and then I'll have another one out. So we're back on track, baby.
Let's go.
Yeah. So
Look at us.
yeah.
A finely tuned machine.
Yeah, finely
And-
tuned machine that's kind of like still steam driven and belt and steam powered.
It's like being in the black country in England. We're brewing machines here.
I think our machine is more like the when they talk about like the Wright brothers flight and they show the concepts that came before them, and it's always like black and
And
white.
all the wings fall off at once.
Yeah, and it's like a weird like helicopter thing that is meant to like go up and like the
Yeah, you,
parts
like,
are moving and
pumping it.
pumping, and
Yeah.
that's more of what our
That's
machine
what we
is
got.
like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even I showed up last Tuesday, and I was like, "Where is Chris? He's late again."
Yeah.
And I think I was the one who requested that we don't record a show the week
Yeah.
of Thanksgiving, and then I show up, and I'm like, "Oh."
Whoops.
Luckily, I didn't set the stuff up this time, so
But we've got a lot to talk about this
do
time.
have a lot to talk
for
about.
real.
Yeah.
First and foremost, though, have you had any beers lately that you've really enjoyed?
I don't even know what week it is. What have I had? I did a side by side on that day when I showed up, and there was no podcast of Rothaus and Trumer.
And
I got it wrong. Asked them to, like,
Well, what did
blind-
you like
blind
more?
me. I think I like the Rothaus more,
okay.
and I do love Trumer. But the Rothaus is drinking way hoppier than I remember it being.
Yeah, when it's really fresh, it can be quite hoppy.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed. And so those were 2 things that I had in close succession.
Okay.
Or actually right next to each other at the
Okay.
same time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Those are good beers.
How about you?
I've had a few beers. We did the Bourbon County release. Went smoothly. Not as chaotic as it once was. I will say, I think I've decided that overall, I mean, I know that some of the present company that we haven't announced yet, competes in this space or used to. So by and large, over the last 5 years, I think Goose Island has put out the best adjuncted stouts. Well, at least that I've had. So that way I can
Of
say
any type or barrel aged specifically?
adjuncted barrel-aged
Barrel-aged
stouts.
stouts.
I think, yeah, that's what
Sure.
they do. Yeah, so because they're highly creative with them because they're making a bunch of new ones every year, and I think they execute them very well.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be like, oh, my God, they're doing a baklava, they're doing a, whatever, banana Foster, and then you drink them, and now I just kind of assume that they're going to be done well, even though it sounds like something I would think is going to be disgusting. like a baklava stout.
Yeah.
And then you taste them and they're really good.
I mean, to be fair, they should be the best at it.
Yeah.
They dedicate more
Yeah.
resources to it than almost anyone else.
Totally.
So.
But hey, I mean, come on. They easily could be garbage if they didn't care enough to do the fine-tuning and the, ingredient searching and the recipe creation. I mean, they could just do what a lot of other breweries, I think, prefer to do. Even if they had the resources, they would be like, why would I put my resources towards that? I mean, I could just use this hazelnut extract. What's going to be more hazelnut than that?
Sure. I bet they're using a little bit of those top notes.
Maybe.
But,
Maybe they are.
I do.
But they're not just doing that.
I do remember judging at Fobab and tasting a hazelnut barrel-aged brown ale that was very obviously just a bunch of hazelnut extract and hating it.
Sickened.
But losing and someone else passing it on to the next round because they had more clout than me and they'd been judging since the first Fobab.
Right. It's, and it was probably thick with 2 C's.
Yeah, I mean, this was like pre-things getting too thick. This was like 2016,
How many C's were in it?
Maybe 2.
2 C's.
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't unthick. It was thick, but
It was thick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, should we introduce our guests?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, it's in order of seniority, and the senior member is just to my right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Right. Mr. Keith Lemcke, who you were at the bar the other day, and someone came up to me, and they heard you talking to me, and they said, my favorite voice on the podcast. And I knew they weren't talking about me. I was like, oh, you recognize them. I'm like, oh, yeah, love it whenever he's on. So welcome. I'll let you talk for a little bit.
I won't talk for a little bit, but do remember Ray Daniels was sitting right beside me, so it could have been Ray they were referring to as well.
It
could have been.
Yeah. So, now, that was a little unusual. I think that's the first time I've had fan adoration and probably the last time, depending on the nature of the conversation that goes on this evening.
All right. Love it. Is there any beers that you have had lately that you've enjoyed, or any beers that you're looking forward to?
Just got back from San Diego doing the Siebel Institute Brewing Microbiology course there. AleSmith Brown Ale, right on the money. Great brewery that remains a standard bearer in the area. I would say that was the highlight of the trip, although cruising around and tripping around downtown San Diego. I went to the Lost Abbey Brewery there that's in a converted church, which was really cool. It was nice being on the West Coast, even though the weather was not exactly what you would think San Diego weather should be.
Really?
It was just a little cool and damp, made my old bones creak, and therefore the walking around and stopping at the occasional brewery for a damn fine San Diego beer was gratefully appreciated.
Yes. I love that you went to San Diego and your favorite beer was a brown ale. I will say, certainly a Mount Rushmore brown ale. Like one of the best, one of the greats, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'd have to say, if I had to list my favorite right now, I'd say probably AleSmith. AleSmith is pretty amazing.
Civil Life is enters.
Their American
has a bunch of
they
entries
the
in
chat.
the
Yeah, their American brown is incredible.
Yeah,
as well.
It's one of those beers where you're like, you think that both of those are beers where you're like, this is a simple style, and you drink it, you're like, yeah, this is an incredible, balanced, perfect beer.
Yeah. We were having, I think you were with us. It was after one of the shows when we were drinking a bunch of stouts, and then we grabbed, I think, we were drinking a bunch of these stouts and talking about the different merits of them and liking them. And then we went and I got a 6-pack of Obsidian from Deschutes. And at least to me, and I don't think I was the only one who felt this way, we were like, oh my gosh, this is in a whole different category of all the. It just reframed all the other stouts we had just been drinking.
Yeah,
because it was just so amazing.
It's one of those things where it's like not a Rosetta Stone or something like that, but it's like this is what all these other beers were trying to be, and then this one actually is it. That one's a specific, like, I don't know if everyone would love that beer the way that most people probably love a good nut brown ale, but for that, like, American
stout,
roasty, kind of bitter stout, that's one of the better ones.
To that exact point, when I first started working for Siebel Institute, and we would be going to trade shows, Craft Brewers Conference specifically, my boss at the time, Lynn Kruger, said, working for a brewing school, we have to be kind of independent. So if somebody asks you what your favorite beer or your favorite brewery are, just try to be, diplomatic and say, oh, you like them all. I said, my favorite brewery is Deschutes. My favorite beer is Obsidian Stout.
There you go.
And everybody has the right to say that. And to this day, Obsidian Stout is still my favorite beer.
It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable beer. It's so good.
It's one of those things like you check in on it every once in a while. Like I don't drink a ton of it, but when I have it, I'm like, man, this is as good as I remember it being.
Yep.
Or as perfect, or as like of its character. I don't know how to describe that, but it's like it is a very specific sense memory that is like called back very perfectly every time I have it.
Mike Siegel of Goose Island was the one who kind of made me remember that, because he was just talking about it and how much he loves it and how it's one of his favorites, and he likes to just get it, make sure he has it every so often. And then I realized I hadn't had it in a while, and darn if he wasn't right. So, okay, we have one more guest, a virtual guest, but not a first-time guest, so they don't get to introduce themselves. I introduce them. It is Mr. Jacob Sembrano of Cruz Blanca. Did I get it right? Yes. I got it all right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. Good. Man.
Cruz Blanca Brew Pub, whatever.
Cruz Blanca Brew Pub, yes. So it's funny, like, for both of you, you haven't been on in a while. I don't think there's any news for either of you to get us up to date on.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
All right, great show.
No, yeah. All right. Cool.
Let's go home, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's new with you, man? A lot is new with you, right?
Yeah, a lot's new. Tori and I are up here in Hudson, New York right now. We got here on Sunday, and we've just kind of been trying to decompress for a couple of days until we go back to Chicago and, do that whole Christmas thing.
You're there on just personal vacation?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Some free time. But even on our personal vacation time, we're still like going to breweries, and it's kind of funny the way
doing
that works out.
podcasts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, doing podcasts. And let's see. It's actually kind of been a pretty fun trip. We went to Suarez, and that's always a pretty incredible moment of beer to just drink beer in its kind of like simplest form and just really sit down and slow down and enjoy it. We got about 8 inches of snow dumped on us today, and that's
nice.
Hudson is just, days behind of the Chicago, or ahead, however you want to look at it. But yeah, that Chicago storm is hitting Hudson now. So we walked outside in the snow for about an hour, just messing on, and all the shops are closed on the street. So it was picturesque, very nice.
That's nice. I've been seeing you around a whole bunch. I saw you. I was busy. You kind of nodded to me just like a couple weeks ago, and then I came back out, and you had just like disappeared. It was like a ghost had been here. He was here, and then he wasn't here. And then I ran into you at Is Was. Also, just randomly. You were just there enjoying yourself there as well. So yeah, I've been kind of seeing you just about town. Seems like these last few months.
Been a pretty cool, 18 months, considering the GABF win last year and the FOBAB win last year and the GABF win this year and the FOBAB win this year. So, after 10 years at Cruise, I finally figuring out how to make good barrel-aged beer.
Well, how to win those medals. There's some people who just know how to do it. That was like the John Lafleur thing. He just knew how to medal at FOBAB. Like,
he just threw some Calamansi in a beer and wiped his hands off.
It's not that easy anymore.
What did you go through your medals? What did you win in the past 18 months?
It was a gold for barrel-aged, just the barrel-aged beer category. It's a pretty wide net, but it was a beer that we actually won with at FOBAB the year previous, and it was like a mezcal barrel-aged Tepache lager. We had a bunch of we make Tepache, and I save the Tepache spent fruits and add lager on top of it and condition it in barrels. So it's kind of there's a lot of moving targets in that beer, but when it comes out, it's something really special,
Yeah, I think you left a bottle of that at Was when you were there last time. We drank it.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. Really wonderful.
Yeah.
Tepache
nice.
Cowboy? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tepache Cowboy. And then FOBAB was bronze and experimental. I'm an experimental person. I always win in fruit and experimental. I can't make a classic stout to save me. I can get close, but I'm good with the experimental stuff for sure.
Yeah, the beer that you medaled with last year at FOBAB, what beer was that you medaled at last year?
The Tepache Cowboy and that you guys had it on.
Yeah.
It was that La Locura, which was a Angostura barrel-aged ale with
incredibly
black raspberries
good
and mulberries. Yeah.
One of the weirdest and like greatest beers we've had on. It's always so cool when there's a beer that you try knowing there's a decent chance it's going to be terrible. And then you have it, and it's not only not terrible, but like really, really good.
Yeah.
Like those were some of the best beers.
Yeah.
When you're like, wow, this could be so bad, but it's so good.
Yeah.
I put a lot of scratch beers in that qual. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to. I like to make people kind of scratch their heads a little bit and say, conceptually it sounds kind of like complicated or confusing, but it ends up coming out really nice,
Yeah, just add a little nuance to that take. But I think the best beers are the ones that should be really bad. You read them off and you're like, this is gonna be gross. Then you have it, you're like, oh my god, this is really incredible. So.
That's kind of what I was trying to say, but be nice about it.
Yeah.
I put a lot of scratch beers in that category as well. At least that's certainly how I approached them when they first told me what was in it. I was oh, God.
Well, then there become things where you're like, if anyone else made this, there's no way I'm touching this with a 10-foot pole. But then there's certain brewers like Jacob or Scratch where you're like, okay, I'll give that a whirl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are there any beers you've had lately, Jacob, that you've enjoyed?
Yeah, for sure. It's always hard to remember them, but today I actually had to put a lot of thought into it. When we're in Denver this year, Cohesion has a, dark lager that's always a Czech style dark lager, which is really fantastic. And it had this like really rich kind of like dark fruit, prune, fig character to it, which a lot of dark Czech lagers don't have. I thought that was really unique. There's this brewery out of Utah called Helper, and I tasted a Japanese lager from them that had green tea and green peppercorns, and it was used in such restraint that it was like a really highly aromatic, delicate beer, which like really kind of floored me. I spent a couple of days thinking about that beer, which is rare, but when you have something that you like, you can't stop thinking about it.
Green peppercorns are like a magical ingredient. We just did something with Lao Pang Yu that had green and white peppercorns in it, and it is crazy. Like, it's so aromatic and so floral, and really beautiful. These were like green Szechuan peppercorns, apparently.
Yeah.
And they were really cool.
And today we went to just Hudson Brewing, and they had a black IPA on with all New York ingredients and one hop called Excelsior, I think. And it was
New York grown, I would imagine. Yeah, probably.
What's
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah, obviously. Yeah,
Yeah.
local. Yeah, local.
Pretty-
New York ingredients.
ingredients.
pretty outstanding black IPA, which, again, you're like, wow, that's really nice. You got to give credit where credit's due.
That's awesome. I like that there's just little breweries that you haven't heard of that are just making really nice stuff. That's encouraging. And, I think that was probably always the case, but I don't know. I feel like I'm more optimistic when I go into a random brewery now in a town or an area that I'm not sure of than I had been maybe 5 years ago. That I might have something like, really pretty decent or better.
Yeah.
I
I think something that also happened, like, I don't know if this happened for everyone, but for me, where, like, I used to be much more excited by, like, things that I couldn't comprehend, where it's, like, crazy flavors or things that I'm like, I don't even know what that's going to taste like. And now it's more like things where it's like, oh, I think I know what that tastes like. And you have it, and it's either exactly that and you're delighted by it, or, like, slightly a tweak from that and pleasant. I don't know if I'm searching for, like, things that are, like, completely unique to me anymore. I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Yeah, we know what good beer tastes like.
Yeah.
So we are chasing a lot less. But again, when you try something that you really like, and it kind of just like sets this little ping off in your mind of pleasure, and it either reminds you of something that you had in the past, or it's just really pleasurable. Like it's a good feeling.
Yeah. I love this. Also, the idea of this, like, kind of like new, like, not nostalgia, but knowing something is new, but yet also nostalgic. Like that black IPA, I haven't had it, but it makes me think, like, I've never had Excelsior hops, but there's probably an essence of nostalgia in drinking a black IPA, and then this new twist or flavor or something specific to that region, or a take on it that's specific to that region.
Are you guys
where our sweet
hearing
spot
more the phrase black IPA in the last month or so? It seems the phrase is popping up more, like the Black IPA Marketing Board is having a more effective job of getting that back into the parlance of just the average beer consumer. Czech Dark Lager has been something that we've been chasing now for a couple of years, and maybe that's opened up people's appreciation for the idea of a dark, lighter beer.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's kind of doing this weird, like, loop-de-loop, like, spiral, because it was gone forever, and then maybe, like, a year ago it had, like, a moment, and then it went away, and now it's kind of, now there's some more again, which maybe is a seasonal thing. Maybe this is people's, like, early winter seasonals or something like that. I don't know.
That makes sense.
But, yeah, we just had Wookie Jack on draft, and pretty good beer.
Very
I'd
good
say.
beer. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the better examples of the style, if you ask me.
I have a very distinct memory of getting some cans printed for, like, the first time at Pipeworks. That was a black IPA, and we got an entire truckload of them as we were, like, growing, and it was literally the same day that we heard that they were killing Wookie Jack, and we're like, oh, this might have been a mistake. Like, if that one's dying, then what did we just do? Turned out okay.
Well, of course, Goose Island killed Goose Island Nut Brown Ale officially, and then picked up a GABF, I believe it was, medal for it.
That's right.
And
I
had
remember
to
that.
bring it back onto the market. And now it's back in the lineup at Salt Shed.
Yeah.
And an absolutely terrific beer.
Yeah.
Nothing ever really dies.
Yeah, I had that brown. They had it on cask. It was excellent. It was very good.
Nice.
Yeah. They also had an American Stout. They had American Stout on cask as well. I was there. I went to the Salt Shed for the first time. It was it's a nice place.
You just went to the brew pub, or did you see the show?
Yeah. No, I just went to the brew pub.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going there on Sunday, actually, to see a show.
They do have one of those, like, old-fashioned train terminal things that goes like
like the clacking
little
board.
clacking board, but it has like upcoming shows that are next door at the Salt Shed, and then also the follow us and just some news as well. It updates, I think, every 30 seconds, though. It's
That's
a
too
lot
much.
of clacking.
That's too much.
A lot of clacking.
Crack-a-lacking.
Maybe once every 90 seconds, 120 seconds.
You don't want to sit directly underneath
It's
it.
exactly where I was. I was exactly underneath it. And it was just... So,
Yeah.
anyway. Great place, though. Cool spot. Good
Have to
beer.
go.
I was impressed with the beers. They were good. Oh, and they had a Czech pale lager on, like a Czech Pils, and it was phenomenal. Really, really good. A+.
Nice.
Yeah, very, very good. So
Yeah, Mike's a very good brewer.
Thank you.
A lot of stuff he does.
I'm just
The other Mike with a name that sounds like my name, Mike Jacobs. Jacobson? Jacobs? Yeah, he's good. He knows what he's doing.
yes, yeah, he certainly does, but based on what I tried. So, anyway, I think that's all the news we have, right? No. What's the first topic? It's talk about serendipity, right?
Yeah.
Having Keith on.
Keith had been scheduled for months, I believe. And
Should we have Keith intro? We very rarely have people intro the topics, but I think this is pretty. I mean, come on.
Yeah, let's do
serendipitous,
it.
like I said. So, what's up, Keith? What's going on with where you work?
Well, it's not really where I work anymore as of this past Wednesday, just before Thanksgiving. I am no longer employed with Siebel Institute of Technology. It's been a road leading up to what's happening currently with Siebel. About 4 weeks ago, the message came across that our parent company, Lallemand Brewing, had decided that Siebel Institute was going to move to Montreal, Canada. And Lallemand, which has owned Siebel Institute since 2000, they were established in Montreal. That's where the head office still is. We have a history of teaching at the Lallemand facility, one of the many Lallemand facilities in Montreal. And given some of the major complications of teaching within the United States, leading up to that decision, we had decided that Siebel's Diploma and Master Brewer program for spring of 2026 were going to be held entirely in Munich, Germany. In a normal year, what we would do is we would have the first 6 weeks of brewing theory taught in Chicago, and then have the balance of either the 12-week diploma program or the 20-week master brewer program taught at our sister facility, our partner facility, Doman's Academy in Munich, Germany. We have been having ongoing problems for the last year with our students being able to attain visas in time to be able to come into any of our courses in the United States. And that is regardless of whether they're held within Chicago or at other locations. For example, we do cooperative courses with White Labs in either the Asheville or San Diego locations. So what was happening is that students would be signed up from outside the United States to come into our programs or courses, and they would submit their visa applications, and the visa applications would be delayed for one reason or another, to the point where we couldn't really count on the students being able to make it in by the start of their courses. Not only makes it difficult for Siebel Institute to be able to plan how many people you have in a class, it makes it incredibly difficult for the people who are sending them into the school to learn in the United States, and also for anyone who's planning on paying for their own tuition and coming into the United States to be able to count on being able to come into the country to study at the school.
So I want to ask you a question that someone, for you to talk about something that someone stated to me, what they thought the story was, and they thought that perhaps that this was political cover for a reason for Lallemande to move to Montreal, which they wanted to do regardless and were planning to do regardless, and this would be a nice way to have people not be upset at them, and that the visas that were being held up were mostly 4-month visas, which was longer than the courses, or most of the courses, or whatever, at Siebel, and that really wasn't an issue. And I told that person, I'll ask him.
First of all, people from outside the United States can't come in to study in our courses or programs based on a conventional tourist visa. They need a specific visa called an M1 visa. So when they want to come in, they need to be able to qualify for that. We had actually decided, and again, when I say we, I'm no longer working for Siebel Institute, so therefore I'm not speaking for them. I use the phrase we euphemistically.
Well, it was we when it was happening, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. And the ability to be able to bring people into the country was getting so much more complicated that we decided between John Hannafin, my former boss and director of education, and our direct manager at Lallemande, that it would be a good idea to be able to hold the entirety of the diploma and master brewer program in Munich, Germany. That meant that from the time we ended our previous course, which ended 2 weeks ago, what's called our concise course, until potentially next fall, no courses would be taught at the Chicago location. And if you look at the cost of being in Chicago in that location, it is a terrific location, but it's a costly location. It's in the West Loop, right off Restaurant Row, and it would mean that we would be paying for the lease on that location from now until the next time we hold courses in that location. Well, unless there is something that changes within the visa situation in the United States, it could be that the fall 2026 program as well would have to be held outside the United States because it's just too challenging for our major customers, major international customers, to be able to send people into the country. If that were the case, that would mean it would be 1 year without that campus being used at all. To give you an idea of how challenging it is, for any of our foreign students to come in, they have to surrender their login information for their social media. And it's in place now that will also extend potentially to things like emails. If you can imagine, some of our students, many of our students that have come into Siebel Institute are long-term employees and senior people within their breweries that are being asked to surrender that information just to be able to attend a 6-week or a 2-week program in Chicago. Some of the courses that we have are only 1 week, yet they still would have to surrender that information in order to be able to attain an M1 visa. So you can understand how challenging it would be for us to be able to continue to bring in foreign students. And for Lallemande, the owner of Siebel Institute, to go, okay, we could potentially be an entire year of paying for this property without any possibility of actually occupying it with students. They had to make a decision basically as to how they were going to move forward for the coming year. And so the property you can find online is up for sublease, and that started basically once the press release went out regarding Siebel Institute relocating to Montreal.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. And then these visa issues just started popping up since Trump came to office, I assume?
Yes. I mean, certainly it's become more complicated for anyone to come in on an M1 visa in the United States as well. The way that this is played out in the global media, especially in Latin America, where Latin American communities, Latin American countries have been seeing the news from the United States and how Latin Americans are being targeted within the United States and especially within Chicago. There is no doubt concern for anyone that's looking at the news to say, as a Latin American, am I going to be safe from what's happening with troops in Chicago potentially harassing you just because of how you look?
Okay. I mean, boy, what a bummer.
Seriously.
It's a bummer, man.
I mean, it's been there for about 150, 155 years or something like that.
157.
57.
And if you look at the photographs,
Personally.
you can find the photographs of our graduating classes since the year 1900 online. They're part of Siebel Institute's decor.
Give us some of the greatest hits of the grads.
Of the grads, Ray Daniels of Cicerone Certification, John Mallet of Bell's, August Bush III of Anheuser-Busch, people from Pabst, people from Stroh's, Yingling, Leinenkugel, Keith Lemcke. Yes, I'm a graduate. There have been some of the biggest names that you know within the brewing industry, but also just people who have come out of there and who work in anonymity that are making some of the best beer globally that you can imagine. So when you look at these pictures, you can see that especially from about the 1940s on, people from around the world are coming into the United States because Siebel Institute is very much responsible for creating the techniques, the recipes that are basically featured by the world's brewers. Siebel Institute has been instrumental in the development of adjunct brewing and high gravity brewing to make light lager beers that are sold globally and basically encompass 90 to 95% of beers sold worldwide. That type of beer literally was pioneered by the work of J.E. Siebel back in the late 1800s and by his family throughout the history of Siebel Institute.
Jacob, anything you would like to add? You don't need to wait for me to say anything. If you don't want to say anything, that's also fine. But
yeah, I don't know what kind of delay I'm on, so
you're fine.
No, you're right on.
Oh, good. Keith, that was incredibly articulate. I know that's a hard story to tell. It's kind of like the perfect storm, kind of two things happening that nobody really ever predicted, which is, really shitty. I make this joke to Keith all the time, in that when I started my brewing career, it was at Goose Island Claiborne in 2010, and that was where Siebel was holding their courses inside of the beer stew classroom, which was just a room off the side of the bar. And I joked that I got a free education with Keith by drinking pints with him every day after his class, and that was consistent for about 3 years before you guys moved out of Claiborne, I think. And I mean, without knowing a whole lot about beer, meeting Keith, and I feel like really privileged, because not a lot of brewers in Chicago get to have so much one-on-one time with Keith. So I was.
That's why I'm divorced, Jacob. Spending one-on-one time with me doesn't necessarily lead to a good outcome.
Yeah, it's like, it hurts the next day a little bit. But I don't know. It was terribly invaluable for me, and Siebel's always been a really big part of my life, even though I'm not a student or ever have been. I think that if you're, in Chicago, a brewer in Chicago, it's you're constantly meeting students coming in town to take the Siebel course or the master or the concise course or the master brewers course. I know that when you guys moved into the West Loop location, being, less than a half a mile from Cruz, spent the last 7 years entertaining international students, students from different states. Keith, John, instructors that would come in. I mean, it's I'm an unofficial Siebel grad, is what I consider myself to be.
Honorary.
And Tori's been working out of the offices, so I've been at Siebel a lot more often, and it's just it's a new chapter for Siebel, but it doesn't take the sting away,
Jacob, for the folks just tuning in, as they say, who's Tori?
Oh, Tori's my partner. She is also a Midwest sales rep for Lallemand, so she has a close attachment to Siebel as well. We're not in cahoots or anything. Just
I mean, kind of in cahoots. You're together.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like when the early days of Pipeworks, people from Siebel would come in. There weren't as many breweries then, and we were a little bit more feral, so we would let anyone who wanted to come and see what they shouldn't be doing. Spend all day learning what you're supposed to be doing, and then come see how you're not supposed to do it. But there were so many interesting people that would come through, and a lot of people that they're not like my best friends, but we're friendly with, or like you see them go and open their own breweries or go somewhere and do something really cool. And, it's going to be sad that that's not going to happen as much, that they're just going to be this like, really highly skilled, but also very passionate group of people coming to Chicago all the time to think about and learn about and really deeply try to understand beer.
Keith, I know you are. You're biased here, but I mean, how do you think this will affect, if at all, the Chicago directly, but more like just how about the U.S. The Siebel moving out of the U.S.
Montreal is just over there. That it potentially could bring a different perspective to students who are wanting to study based on, for lack of a better term, the Siebel method. Siebel method, I would say, is defined by that these are full-time concentrated classes, unlike college courses. When you come into Siebel Institute, you spend 5 days a week, full days, and get through your education really, really quickly. Within what will happen in Montreal, I believe, will probably be a greater focus on things like fermentation, maturation. You may see a greater focus on things like sustainability, which is something that is far more important for global international students than it is within the United States for reasons that are somewhat inexplicable. You may see for those coming through the Siebel Institute World Brewing Academy courses, World Brewing Academy being the sort of brand held between Siebel Institute and Doman's Academy in Munich, that the course literally becomes more international. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. It's part of the overall evolution of brewing. The Siebel Institutes, you got to remember, Siebel has gone through World War One, World War II, Prohibition, and the Great Depression. Even in the time that I've been with Siebel Institute, over 25 years, I believe this is the fourth or fifth location we've had in my time in Chicago. When I started in 2000, in fall of 2000, Siebel had actually closed for business in late 1999 and early 2000 because of the contraction in the craft brewing community that occurred. Basically, the United States went up to 1,600 breweries in the late 1990s, then down to 1,300 by the early 2000s. Plus, there was also the loss of Stroh and Schlitz and Pabst and Rainier and Olympia, all of which were clients of Siebel Institute, which basically compromised the economic base of the school. And then from roughly 2005 on, began the escalation of craft brewing and the transition of the diploma program from mostly large brewer employees sent and paid by their customers to craft brewers coming in to take advantage of the education to get into the industry. We've always been in a period of transition within brewing, but how Siebel Institute transitions from this point and how the entire U.S. brewing industry and the global brewing industry transitions is going to be dependent on a lot of factors that Siebel needs to keep up with.
What was the American to international student ratio as of now? Or
currently?
Yeah, currently.
We just had in San Diego for the 11 people that were in on the microbiology class, 2/3 were from outside the United States. In the 2-week concise course of 16 people, I believe it was also about 2/3. For the distilling class, the 1-week distilling class, which was about 4 weeks ago, they were all North American. And that could be understood because, there's still a fair degree of interest on making bourbon and gin. And interestingly, the distilling course, I'm not sure how easily you could hold a distilling course in Canada or in Mexico, because in Canada it would be about producing rye. In Mexico it would be about producing mezcal and tequila. In the United States, very much focused on bourbon. And so you have to know what your market is. You have to know who you're approaching. And to some extent, you've got to specialize. So there's some transitional things that Siebel will need to bear in mind. And there's certainly different markets that we can support and develop new materials for that will keep the school relevant. And it's one of the great things about how we've existed in the 25 years I've been there is that we change our course content and we make sure that we have the right instructional staff to come in and teach.
I'm a Siebel grad. I should have, I guess, mentioned that as well.
Why didn't Keith mention you when you were?
I asked him
graduates.
Well, because he looked at me and he didn't say anything. It was nonverbal.
Didn't need to be said.
Yeah. I took the Master of Style and Evaluation course there, and I met a couple people.
That's why you beat me in the blind tasting.
That's why I beat you, because I'm a master of that.
I think you showed me your business plan.
I think I probably did. Yes, it was right before I opened up. That's right. And you didn't laugh in my face.
Oh, I did, just not there.
Yeah,
Yes.
in my face. But Ian Hughes, formerly of Goose Island, I met there, and also Brad Clark, who opened up Jackie O's. I believe he might have moved on. Was in my class, and some international students as well. Met some guys from Mexico City who were trying to start a craft brewery there, which was really rough with all the tied houses and stuff like that. And it was a good time. I mean, still keep in touch with some of those people from that class, which is pretty amazing. Certainly helped that it was. Some people were coming in from out of the country, and then I was just getting on the red line and taking it to North and Clybourne at the time, which was nice.
You were just going so you could drink at the Goose Island Brew Pub?
Well, it wasn't there. It was near the Goose Island Brew Pub. We would end up going there. I think maybe even go there for lunch most days. They did have you had your own bar, though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Always. Anytime we've actually opened up a new campus, because I helped close down the Peterson and Pulaski location, which was purpose-built in the 1950s for Siebel Institute. And we vacated that in 2002, and in doing so, we moved to Goose Island, Clybourne to teach, as Jacob mentioned, out of their big sort of hospitality room. But the first thing we put in was the bar in the Siebel Beer Stube area, this little room they had off to the side. And every time we moved from one location to another, the first thing that would move would be the beer stube. Because for the staff going in and supervising any new establishment especially, and to bring in people to see what it is we were building, you want to be able to pour a draft beer for them while they're there.
Yep, makes sense. I mean, thinking back, the instructors were Ray Daniels, Randy Mosher, Mosh Dog, as you know him, and Lynn.
Yes, Lynn Kruger. Yep.
Lynn Kruger. And, Ray and Randy, I didn't know them personally at all, but I knew of them. I had read their books. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. But then Lynn absolutely blew me away, and I think stole the show of the course. I mean, she was just unbelievable.
A full day on beer sensory, yes, and she just wraps your head around all the different things that can go right and wrong in beer.
Right. And her favorite beer, I believe, was Corona. Is that right?
I don't know about that.
Coors Light?
No. No, she would be a hoppy person. As she would say, she's a bitter woman. Yes.
Okay. You would know better than I. I say, in my memory, she would drink a lot of very light lagers, and I thought that was interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
I feel like if you spend all day evaluating beer, you don't want to drink a Corona.
Right.
But
I saw her and Keith would go toe to toe a lot.
On a number of Coronas drank.
Yeah, no, on some cask beer at Goose, or it's good.
You have to recognize that when we had class in session, I was the first person to show up in the morning at Goose Island, Clybourne. So I would stand at the back door waiting for the manager to come in, because I had to go in and make sure the class was set up. Because they use the place as a restaurant the night before. And by the end of the day, which usually was 4:30, it would be me and Lynn Kruger sitting at the bar, sometimes with Jacob, sometimes with John Nagsy, sometimes with Will Turner, all of whom were brewers at one point in time there. And so that's where the brewers of Goose Island got a relatively free education. But as well, it was just this magic time where you would be completely surrounded. It was peak times for our students coming in approximately 2008. The Great Recession did nothing but drive people into wanting to open up breweries, and our classes were full, held at Goose Island. So at the end of the day, the students, because they got a discount on beer, would come and stand around the bar, and they would also get a discount on food, and so they'd eat dinner at the bar, and you would have students there till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And on Thursdays especially, you would also see the brewers from the Goose Fulton location come over to talk with the students. And there's something about Siebel Institute. That Peterson and Pulaski location was actually purpose-built not just for education, products, and services. It served as what you would consider a rallying point for global brewing at the time. because especially for people living in the Americas, they came up sponsored by their breweries to learn to brew by American standards. And they were free to talk with each other about anything they wanted to talk about away from the supervision of their management. And they did. A lot was learned about brewing techniques just from people standing around having a beer and talking.
Yeah, that's I'm sure. I mean, it was kind of a magical time. Vibes were very high when you had, Siebel and the giant flagship, Sam's and then Binny's. And
my alma mater.
yeah, R.I.P. Sam's. And yeah, Goose Clybourne, all right there.
Yes.
It was pretty awesome. It was really the center of Chicago beer. I would say the geographical kind of center, but also the kind of the heart of it. I mean, things were popping off and just starting, but yeah, that kind of like Goose Clybourne, certainly pre-buyout. I mean, that was that was the place. There was, people new to beer. There were also the old timers who were there. The CBS first Thursdays, which would be jam packed.
We had
like 100 people.
We would have students that would hang around for it, and those were the times when Ray and Randy were both very active members of CBS. And as well, both Ray and Randy were teaching for us at the time. Ray and Randy were not only teaching master beer styles, but Ray would come in for a diploma program and teach things like water chemistry. So at the time, they would teach some of the more technical aspects of beer and brewing, but of course, when they bring in their books, right, like designing great beers and Randy's original book, Brewer's Companion, which is out of print now, when you show it to brewers from other nations who are working for large breweries, in many cases they went, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to open up a small brewery. And especially in the case of Mexican brewers, we've had so many people come up from Mexico who are paying their own way, and it's really expensive for them to come up here if you're paying your own way to open up a craft brewery in Mexico with limited potential of building a really large brewing company because of how tightly distribution's controlled in Mexico. But things that we've done here in Chicago have extended to the craft brewing community globally like you can't believe. We've had students in from Nepal, from India, from just every nation around the world, but mostly from the Americas. I know that Siebel has had a profound influence on assisting in the growth of the craft brewing community. That Lynn Kruger and guys like Richard Dubé, who's in charge of our online learning program, go and judge. And when you are sitting with people who are locals and teaching them some of the aspects about craft brewing in the United States, it just brings up the game.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, very bummed. But right off the bat, you said your former employer. I asked you when I saw you a couple days ago here at the bar. I asked you, so when are you moving to Montreal? And you said, I'm not telling you a damn thing until next Tuesday. So
a true
now,
professional.
Yeah. So now, I'm glad he's looking out for this show.
Save it for the
more
pod.
than me. Yeah.
It's the ratings. It's all about the ratings, man.
So
Nielsen's going through the roof on this one.
Exactly. So what's the deal? You're not moving to Montreal?
Not moving to Montreal.
You're not. You're not a French Canadian, right? That's the reason. Right?
I'll give you an idea of my path. When I started at Siebel Institute in 2000, I came into the diploma program but I already knew the director of education, and I already knew coming in that he wanted me to do some stuff for Siebel Institute while I was here. I started doing stuff, and by the third week of me being in the diploma program in 2000, it was announced that Lallemand had purchased Siebel Institute. The guys from Lallemand came into Siebel, sat with them just to say hi and look ragged because I hadn't shaved in 3 weeks, and I was in a T-shirt and jeans, not knowing this was actually my interview with these guys from Montreal.
Whoops.
And no, it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it worked out.
I showed them something called a search engine because they were wondering what I meant when I said when I'm going to do marketing for Siebel, I'm not really going to use magazines. I'm going to pull away from using magazines because basically the internet is how people are going to be doing all sorts of research through search engines. And the question was, what's a search engine? And Google had not yet come out on the market to any extent. So I showed them something called Copernic. And Copernic was a search engine that was sort of parallel to AOL and Yahoo. And that was like the beginning of this stuff. And so I started working for Siebel, and by 2005, working under contract for them, they said in Montreal that we want you to continue working for Siebel now on a full-time basis, but you'll also work for Lallemand. Guess what? You're moving to Montreal. So I worked for Lallemand for a year and a half in Montreal. And that was from 2005 through 2006. And then they transferred me under a visa to work for Siebel Institute in Chicago. So I moved here finally in 2006. So I know Montreal. It's a beautiful city, vibrant, great brewing community. But if you can imagine, it is colder in winter than Chicago.
Yeah.
It is substantially colder in winter than Chicago.
Yeah.
And as well, this has just become home for me. I walked over here tonight. So basically 3.5 miles on treacherous sidewalks with old man hips. And it's kind of like, Jesus, I love this city. It's a breathtaking city to be here. And the move to Montreal of the Siebel campus facility, I imagine, does not say that they won't also hold classes here potentially. Mm-hmm. Because we've shown that classes can be taken to different locations. It just takes logistics and management. So being in Montreal doesn't necessarily mean we won't be in Chicago again. That's up to Lallemand to decide that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is Keith. This is your Lallemand pulled you out of your first retirement. So, not Lallemand. Siebel pulled you out of your first retirement. So, is this for real?
This is kind of in no way retirement. It would be. I'm going to take some time to use the Hulu subscription that I signed up for 2 days ago. And by the way, don't sign up for the one with commercials because there's more commercials than show. So I paid for the full enchilada. But I mean, I'm absolutely open to working with Siebel in whatever capacity they would need assistance in the coming years. The move to Montreal is just such a change that this sort of tenor of the school, so to speak, needs to adapt to that. It potentially needs a different voice, because I've been doing the marketing since coming back to Siebel in 2022. I've been doing marketing, and the reason I came back in 2022 is because they had 6 people working for Siebel leading into COVID, and they had only 3 once they were about to reopen. Since my ugly Canadian ass was sitting on the couch doing nothing, I basically said, you guys need a hand, I'm in. And so now that it's not in Chicago anymore, they need somebody like me in Montreal, and it ain't going to be me.
Got it. Why don't we grab a beer and come back in a few more minutes and talk about some things.
some things.
Some things. All right. So
Yes.
we'll be back in just a moment.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Beer Temple podcast. I'm Mike Schlau of Was Brewing, here with Chris Quinn of the Beer Temple, and we are here with Jacob Sembrano of the Brew Pub Cruz Blanca, and Keith Lemcke of is free agent, yeah.
Of sitting on the couch watching Hulu.
Of Hulu.
Premium.
Of Abbott Elementary, maybe. I don't know what is he.
Yeah.
What's he
The
watching?
Bear.
The Bear.
I'm on season 2.
Nice. It's a good show.
Christmas episode, brutal.
Here's
brutal.
a fun story. Well, we had a beef off during the break, my kids' Thanksgiving break, because my son Charlie's a Chicago beef lover.
What's his favorite?
Well, Mr. Beef by far. He's been going there. He gets his hair cut across the street. So I've been taking him there for years and years, like every 5 weeks. And he noticed that it started getting really. He's like, "Why is it so crowded all of a sudden?" And I kind of explained to him. And my son's a bit of a celebrity at Mr. Beef.
Oh.
Yeah, been ordering his own beefs for a while.
Can we get him in
Mr.
season
Beef
4?
himself, Christopher, gives him high fives.
Nice.
And yeah. Last time he was in there, he said he was going to put Charlie up on the wall, and then he told me, he's like, "I'm serious. I want to picture with him on the wall." I was like, "Okay,
That's awesome.
yeah." So I can't watch The Bear though. It's way
calming?
Yeah, too calming. I made it through, I think, almost the first episode of the first season, and was like, "Nope." I'll just to be continued when I close my eyes and put my head on the pillow.
Yeah. My anxiety will play this.
Yeah, exactly. If I want to watch this, I'll just go to sleep.
Yeah, the lost episode of The Bear playing.
Exactly.
Tori asked me for weeks if I wanted to watch season 3, and I'm like, I'm not ready. I can't, I'm not willingly bringing that amount of stress into my life when I'm trying to eat in front of a TV or something.
Right.
It's just not worth it.
So one thing, we were going to talk about THC, and it reminded me that we had a beer. It might have just gone off, or it might still be on. It was on earlier today. It is the Haymarket West Coast IPA. And it was Max here, the buyer for the bar side, was like, "Oh, we had a beer today that I think you would like. It's kind of in your style. It's dank." And they had it on cans, and then they got it on draft, and they're like, "Wow, it's even more dank on draft." I drank it, and like a sip of it, like, "What?" I was like, "This is like, it smells exactly like weed. Like, what's going on?" And then I was talking about it, and I was like, "There's got to be terpenes in this thing." And then we're looking at the can, looking at it online. No, nothing. So then,
terps?
Friend of the show, Ruben Kornbrot, a.k.a. Cal Fredrickson of Spiteful Brewing, was here. And he was like, "Yo, what's up with that beer?" I was like, "Yeah, there's terpenes in it, right?" And he's like, I mean, I don't think so. I think they have to say if there's terpenes in it. So I don't know if that's true or not.
That's a good question. I don't know.
So that's kind of getting to where I'm going. So he reached out today and said, I've confirmed. And he showed me a screenshot. He's like, "Yeah, there are some terpenes. There's a terpene in it called Pineapple Express." I don't know what kind of a terpene that is, if it's a hop-derived terpene or not. But that's what we were kind of saying. Like, if it's a hop-derived terpene, do you have to say that it is in your beer or not?
Pineapple Express is a cannabis strain, so it is mimicking the terpene profile of the cannabis strain. And as far as I'm aware, all of those emulsions are all TTB approved. So before they even hit the market, they made sure they're all TTB approved if they're to be used in beer. So I don't really know if I don't know. I don't know if it has to be disclosed or not, but it is approved by the TTB. So
very interesting. how would you feel, or one way or another, any of you, having an IPA that had terpenes or something like that in it, but didn't say it? Would you care?
If it's hop derived and it is distillation derived or chemically derived, it's the same as any other isolated hop compound that you've had available, probably as long as they've been deriving hop compounds. Because it's standard methodologies to be able to use distillation or chemical fractionation in order to be able to isolate any of the compounds. So I would imagine that if you can simply say this came from hops, TTB probably would have no problem with it. There's a lot of stuff that you can you can fractionate out of hops, but of course the cost of doing that becomes pretty prohibitive.
Okay, because I was going to go there next. Like, at what point does it become, a drop of this, a drop of that?
Well, there's so much like, I don't know, maybe we're through this point now, but there's like definitely this point where there were these advanced hop products, and we were kind of reinventing the wheel. I remember talking to one company about them, and they weren't usable for us because we use hops more for the polyphenols and for the body that builds in a very small, like low gravity dry beer. And then like, well, maybe you could use that, and then you could use this, which is basically just the green matter. I'm like, so
right.
you're just recreating the T90 in an aggregate.
Right.
That's supposed now I have to buy two separate things. But I don't know. I wouldn't care if they added terpenes or something. There's like so many versions of these products that are used in so many different ways, and it's not like if I taste something like that and it's like this seems otherworldly in some way, I'm not like, what hop is this anymore? I'm like, oh, they're using something, or they're not, but it doesn't matter. It's all derived from the same thing.
Okay. I think the industry's kind of pushed its way through the terpene phase.
Yeah. I think we're also just
they're also getting better.
Totally.
Because initially, they're just getting a lot better and more convincing. I'd like to know if that was in my beer, but
I think I would too. Yes, I would like to know. Why? Can I articulate exactly why? Maybe, but
what about like thiols? Do you want to know if it's made with a thiolized yeast that's like biogenetically engineered to create more thiols? Is that something you'd like to know? Do you care about that?
See, the thing is, I could say yes, but like these are all these things, and I'm realizing it even before I said it, like it's such a slippery slope, right?
Sure.
Like, okay, so you don't know if it's thiolized yeast. Well, what if it's just a really estery yeast? What if it's this kind of yeast? Like, do you have to know that, or can it just be the yeast is doing this thing? And I guess the same could be like it's a hop. Do you want to know if it's a cryo hop or if it tastes like this because they bred it and the plant tastes like this, or because they're boosting certain characteristics of it through the use of advanced hop products or isolation of terpenes or whatever.
Right. Yeasts have never been the star of the marketing campaign for beer. It's the hops are always the on top. So nobody really asks about the yeast.
Trying to change that one saison at a time. It's not working, but we're trying.
Yo, is this that new yeast?
Is this the new same saison yeast that you've been using for every batch of beer you've made?
Yeah, you want to be like, hey Randy, it's your cousin Marvin Mosher. You know that new yeast you've been looking for?
Radical
we'll taste
yeasts.
this. Yeah.
But also if an IPA says, brewed with Citra and Mosaic, and then there's terpenes in it, and I'm like, wow, this is really crazy, it's going to let down every other Citra Mosaic experience that I have if I don't know that terpenes was giving it that little push forward,
Maybe you've had that and you don't even know.
Well, that's
it's
the thing.
Possible, yeah.
I mean, is it like when pale ales, really clean pale ales, are just lagers? Is it when really nice, great kettle hop flavored ESBs are really just American pale ales, like Sierra Nevada winning their medal, or is it like, I don't know.
I remember when you blindly gave me a Juice Force or whatever that thing is called, and I was like, "There's no way that this is
that's the New Belgium Voodoo Ranger Juice Force."
And I was like, "There's no way that this is just like T90s added in traditional methods." And then we looked it up.
But that's
a
a natural flavor, right? No, it doesn't.
I didn't think it said anything, but that certainly has some sort of advanced product or something going on with it that is juicing it up.
Yeah,
forcing
the
juice.
Yeah.
To what extent do you think customers are going to be even questioning the derivation of these flavors and aromas? That I think this particular broadcast especially is probably being listened to by people who understand the process involved in creating beer, but the average consumer probably doesn't care that much. Right. Now, you look at what's happening with hop aromas. Our former my former employer's parent company represents Yops. Is that right, Jacob?
Yes, Yops.
And
I've used Yops.
Yeast-derived terpenes.
Yops.
I've
used Yops.
Okay. So if you use these and you go, well, these are displacing hops, and they are coming up with similar, if not identical, aromatic characteristics because they're creating the same molecules. And you go, yeah, but then I'm using less hops. Well, the thing about using less hops is we're going to have to be concerned about that.
Right.
Because the amount of water being used to grow hops is becoming an issue. And for people, again, outside the concern of sustainability, like in the United States, we don't really care that much, but for other nations that think about sustainability, when you can achieve hop aromas basically by a yeast extract that may be far more efficient at creating those aromatics and contributing them on a predictable level to a finished beer, and you look at something like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale with the massive amount of that beer sold, if you can find a more predictable finished result that's at a lower cost with less loss, less entrained hop loss, less water loss, because they're in California and they know what it's like to use too much water, then we have to start reaching for alternatives in the way that we produce beer. And if you can create, aromas that are like hops, like, what is the concern about using isolated terpenes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very fair question. I think just because it seems maybe artificial. It seems outside of the general way of brewing beer, which is kind of, I don't know. I mean, maybe technology is always changing, but I think to me it sounds like it's like a chemical extract. It's like you're adding hop crack to or hop meth maybe.
I mean, in a way, then like beer is way behind almost every other consumable thing that we eat or drink in America, where it's like everyone's palate is so in the matrix because everything else tastes like things that have been blown apart and put back together and jacked up with different things to hit your pleasure centers and like a slot machine.
Right.
That maybe that they're just doing that for you for beer, and just let it happen, dude.
Let it happen. Yeah.
The terpenes aren't there yet in terms of making a full replacement, but I don't think the industry's been forced to use them out of necessity yet either. So right now those terpenes are still in the like lab grown 3D printed chicken nugget phase, right? Like it's not quite there yet, but maybe eventually, but nobody's going to use it until they're forced to because they have to, because they can't get what they want. We're not quite there yet.
I mean, if in that scenario, I wonder if beer is like craft beer is around really in the same way that we think about it now.
Or maybe it is like wine. Like there's there's Yellowtail and Barefoot, and then there's David Arthur and stuff like that where a boy works.
Shout out to Niall. He sent me a beer through some people from Barrington that were having to visit him that they came and dropped off. So what up, Niall?
There you go.
I haven't had it yet, but thank you.
Maybe like that, maybe that's what, beers are like that, where some have the, the nice toasty malt terpene added to it.
I don't know.
Is a great lager.
I think that's just
hop
for you.
derived. Yeah.
The caramel coloring and C60 terpene for you, and then
perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it doesn't. You don't feel one way or another about it, Keith?
That in formulating the beer of the future, there's going to have to be a lot of things that are changing. Because when a consumer walks down the aisle of a beverage section at Mariano's, now they have so many different choices that are indeed just these flavor rainbows. I mean, you can buy things flavored with so many different things now.
Right.
We're talking like on BeerNet Radio, they talk about Asian flavored beverage. Well, I don't know what an Asian tastes like, but what they're referring to is like this class of beverages that are basically made with Asian fruits. Now, are they naturally made with Asian fruits? What is the process used to make this? What is the alcohol base? It doesn't matter.
Right.
For young people, it doesn't matter. The label's fantastic. It's in a refrigerated section. It's in a clear bottle. All these things
it has zero carbs.
Bells, right? These things are of critical importance, and as well, again, not to keep harping on sustainability. Brewing is what is called an energy-intensive industry. The amount of energy required to go through a diacetyl rest alone is just crazy compared to the amount of energy required to produce Coca-Cola. That we are in competition, and we will increasingly be in competition with every other beverage on the market.
Which is closer to Coca-Cola, making some of those RTDs or a seltzer. I mean, you have to distill the alcohol.
Well, and when you say distilling the alcohol, we just went through our distilling course. Matt Strickland, this fucking brilliant young man, is teaching this for a week. I asked him, because he knows brewing, he knows distilling, and I say, what uses more energy, making beer or distilling? And he's like, oh my God, not even close. Making beer uses far more energy. If you talk about, in essence,
surprising.
It's a 4-week production schedule behind beer, which means you're in fermentation for probably about a week. Again, look at the amount of energy required just in brew house alone. Then you've got to shepherd it through fermentation, in which it's creating heat, and you have to cool it down. You have to control the ramps.
But don't you have to do all that stuff when you have to ferment before you distill?
Distilling, it's standard to be in and out of fermentation within 7 days. There's no maturation involved in it. Your patience for the amount of alcohol created is what dictates how long you're going to leave it basically in fermentation.
Right, and it's on mash in a lot of those times too, so you're not boiling it at that point.
Not at
straining
all.
It.
Oh, right, you're not boiling it.
You distill it, but that's not even boiling.
Sure.
So exactly, you heat it up, and basically at that point is when you're going to use. And that's a great analogy, Mike. That the amount of energy it takes to boil something for 90 minutes compared to the amount of energy it takes to fractionate a distillate, just
crazy different.
It's insane.
It doesn't take the same amount of energy to go from 0 Celsius to 100 or 99 Celsius as 99 to 100 Celsius to actually get something to boil. It's almost the same amount of energy as to get it from frozen to about to boil.
I made a Stein beer at scratch, and that didn't seem energy intensive at all. Creating a huge fire to heat the rocks, to put the rocks into the wort, to boil the wort.
Yes, that is also what Molson Coors is probably doing
That's
too.
that's how they do it. And that's how High Noon does it. Isn't High Noon?
You made enough beer for not a lot of people.
Yeah, I think we probably got like 2 sixtels out of it. But anyway, I think that's how High Noon makes their distillate as well.
Definitely. I think that Scratch and High Noon have a lot in common.
Yeah. I think they've got like the same like parent company.
I love when they go foraging
They're-
for the black
they're-
cherry essence.
Flavor innovators, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Locally extracted guava.
Would you be more upset
Mango.
if they put thiols in High Noon or if they put it in your terp
Scratch.
IPA?
Oh,
No,
Terp
Scratch.
Dog.
Yeah. If they put it, yeah,
If they
Dog.
terped up my basil IPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use the basil terp. They use the holy basil terp. They use the flat leaf basil terp.
That's
they
true.
use the Italian basil terp.
That's true. Oh my God. This latest round of sumac terps it's just amazing.
Seeing Aaron out
Hickory.
in the woods pulling up a vial
Pulling
of
a vial.
terpenes out of the He's like,
Growing on a tree.
My family's been picking the thiols out of this tree for
Yeah, exactly.
generations.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting back a little bit to that.
Sorry.
I think for like the RTDs and stuff, though, yeah, I guess you're right. Those people don't care about that sort of stuff. But you know what? I'd say beer, the type of beer that we're talking about, and the type of beverages that we're talking about, not just beer, are, I think, a more grown-up version of an adult beverage than Juice Force and, high terp-de-derp stuff. Like, or like, whatever... whatever it is, Celsius, even though that's not alcoholic, but I'm sure it will be soon. Nobody cares about that stuff. High Noon, nobody cares. They want it to. It's good for you because it's in a slightly slimmer can and it's got these light colors to it. Look at the color scheme. It's got to be good for you. I think really that's
Bubbles.
what it's about.
No bubbles.
And there's no bubbles. Exactly.
Bubbles are the enemy.
Yeah. So we'll just put some chemicals and booze in water. And that's good for you, right? Yeah, that's cool. We'll just have that all the time. Yeah. When are you going to teach how to make that stuff, Keith? You should start your own school.
Oddly, when we had first introduced what's called the Master Brewer Program, the first cohort, as they say, of students went over and they're going, what the hell? Why are you guys teaching us how to do soft drinks? And this is... probably 2006, 2007, because they're over in Germany, and if you're a large brewery, you make soft drinks. So Doman's is teaching them how to do soft drinks. And now so many people in brewing want to know how to make soft drinks, want to know how to make RTDs and FMBs and stuff that they can
FMLs.
Basically put D9 into, and yeah.
Okay.
I guess that kind of can transition us into the next topic.
FML.
Yeah, FMLs.
Yeah.
Or just like non-beer beverages being made at breweries and.
Mm-hmm. I have a quick call to action on the way into this topic for people out there. How do you feel about terpenes and stuff in your beer? Do you want that disclosed? Do you care? One way or another, or as long as it tastes good and it's from a brewery you like, it doesn't matter how they got that flavor you really like. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I more know how I feel about it, but can't really express why, which means that my feeling is probably not the best one. But I want to hear from you guys. So it's insiders at craftbeertemple.com, or you can write us a letter, handwritten or typed. And you can mail it, and that would be to 3173 North Elston Avenue. That's the Beer Temple. It's been a while since we got a handwritten letter. It's been a while, as Creed would say. So
It's not stained, bro. Come on.
Stained, whatever. Same thing.
You know your butt rock.
They listen to that stuff in the kitchen here quite a bit.
Men of
Hold Me Now. That song.
That's Creed.
Creed. Yeah, they listen to that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody,
Men
and
of
we
taste
agreed
and
that we're old enough where we don't need to listen to that. Ironically, I didn't like it when it was out then. I don't like it when it's back now.
Kind of slaps. I don't know.
Okay, well, there you go. That's great. Anyway, what were we going to talk about? Creed, you said?
Creed.
Stain?
Yeah. So no, that as part of the bill that reopened the government when they closed, they put a 365-day window on closing the Farm Bill loophole for making THC beverages.
Yeah, it's closed. Well, it's closing.
It's closing. So, something's happening in the next 365 days where it will be THC derived from hemp will be Schedule 1, essentially the same way that THC derived from cannabis is Schedule 1.
So if this was Star Wars, it would basically be like the giant trash compactor with all the breweries making the THC product in it, and it's slowly closing. And R2-D2 is the person trying to come up with a new law.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it gets even worse for Chicago, potentially, because specifically for Chicago, the city of Chicago is voting on an ordinance tomorrow, which is probably 3 weeks after this show comes out. But it's SO 203. I don't know what the 2025 2025 2023 5353, which would ban the manufacturer's sale of hemp-derived beverages from all locations, including breweries, tap rooms, and any accounts carrying those drinks in the city of Chicago, and that would go into effect January 1st.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Who's putting that forward?
I don't know. So this was a thing we got like a we got Mary Quinn is an alderman who's sponsoring the bill in Chicago. Yeah, sure. Same spelling. Oh, Marty
Aunt
Quinn.
Mary.
Marty Quinn, my bad.
Marty Quinn. Oh, well, there is a relationship there.
I couldn't find any articles about this, but this was a kind of a hot button issue on the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild listserv of people that are making these beverages asking for people to call their alder people and not telling them to vote no on it.
But I'd love to know why Marty's got to be getting some money from someone,
or like just platforming himself or themselves. I don't know. I don't assume gender into Marty, but I don't know. Maybe like, well, that's not even fast enough. We got to do it faster here in Chicago, and I don't know. The vote's tomorrow. It seems incredibly quick and drastic.
Yes.
But that's probably because we know a lot of people who make a lot of their living making these beverages.
Why so fast?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, there weren't any like articles that I could find on it. And when I searched the ordinance, because hasn't been actually put on the docket yet, I couldn't find it.
But it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. So I could not find a actual the actual language of it. But people in Chicago in the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild are freaking out.
I could imagine.
Yeah. And then that discussion became a little bit more contentious than most of those are, where some breweries were like, I would never say that we should support that. And then other breweries are a little bit more understanding of, well, prohibition is bad generally, so for our industry and closing the opportunities to.
The complaint was that today is where their membership dues are going.
Oh, right. I see.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's I mean, it's a slightly different issue, but yeah.
Well, also not to unpack this email thread, but the person that was complaining is outside of Chicago, so this does not affect them one bit. But that's not here or there. Either way, THC going to be illegal everywhere in a year.
Hemp-derived
THC, and hemp-derived THC can be sold even in the Chicago one. Can be sold at dispensaries. It just can't be sold here. Or
now,
like at our tap rooms, and we're not allowed to make it.
Few things.
Why would you get hemp-derived THC at a dispensary when you could get cannabis-derived THC at a dispensary?
You got to have product differentiation, I suppose. Maybe you just really got addicted to the Delta 8, Delta 9. I don't even know which one.
I mean, there's some things I'll say. First things first, I'll say I don't really have a problem with these items existing in the world. Like, not as they do now, generally, like, specifically, but just, like, in general. I'm not, like, against hemp-derived THC products. And I know a lot of people that I'm friendly with, make a living, partially, at least, making these things. But I sell them. Something had to happen. I mean, there was a loophole. There was a loophole. And everybody wanted that loophole closed. Like, I don't know anybody who just wanted it to stay the way it was, including the people who make it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the people I talked to at least said that they wanted it, like, regulated. Like, as it stands, like I think technically, like, anyone of any age could buy that stuff anywhere.
Right. But, I mean, it's not what's going to happen is it's the way that those things work is there's never going to be like, okay, well, this has been, done like this for the last couple of years, so let's just scale it back a little bit and you can all keep your business. No, it's like it has to be like, this is the devil, and if you're going to say it's illegal, it has to be categorized the same way you're categorizing other,
Meth.
Yeah, I guess, or cannabis-derived THC. Like there's the way that like the government operates, they're not going to be like, we have no evidence that it's any different in its effect, and we think this one that's derived from this plant does this, and this one that's derived from this plant is not as bad. So they're going to they were always going to put them in the same schedule. I mean,
which makes sense, right?
I think. Well, I mean, does it make sense that cannabis is a Schedule 1? Or THC is a Schedule 1 drug? No.
Oh, well, no.
No, but if they're going to categorize one Delta 8 or versus Delta 9 THC, they're probably going to do it the same way. That makes sense.
The issue, to my understanding, is actually that legislation always refers to cannabis and not to hemp.
Right.
So with that, you can say no regulations that apply to cannabis-derived THC actually apply to hemp, because THC was insufficient in its volume in hemp to make any difference. And you had to have a carve-out between hemp and cannabis because of how they were grown. The agriculture.
And how it was used other than for this. How hemp was used.
Well,
and the ability to extract this amount of THC has to be a relatively new phenomenon compared to when
it is. And like you mentioned, Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10. Basically, this is fractionating, especially what are the CBD compounds that are contained within hemp to turn them into especially Delta 8 and Delta 9. But the whole thing is about just using specifically in national and state regulations the word cannabis with the carve-out for hemp. So, yeah, it does make sense to go CBD is CBD. THC is THC. You have to have these equally regulated, which means all the bills that have been passed so far that are currently in standing must say those terms, CBD and THC, and must say cannabis and hemp.
Right.
It shouldn't regard how they're derived. It should regard the compounds themselves. Holy shit, the amount of regulations required, the amount of legislation required to make that happen is the same as getting marijuana legal in the first place, cannabis legal in the first place. That's the challenge. And there was a dude that was on 60 Minutes, I think it was, some 25 years ago, that was the master manufacturer of shit that we call bath salts. Remember bath salts? You get them at truck stops and stuff like that. And basically, any time the regulations would catch up with what he was producing To ban that, he would just slightly modify the chemical compound because it's the chemical compound itself accurately that gets banned. And the example they used is what's called an R versus an L configuration to the chemical. When you have a psychoactive chemical, you can have the model look like basically as I'm holding up my hand. And if this gets banned, you can just change the chemical formulation so it's now shaped like that. Has
From a
exactly
right hand to a
the
left
same
hand,
effect.
yeah.
You bet, R or L. And it has exactly the same effect on you psychologically, but it is now legal. So that's the complication behind the hemp versus cannabis-derived THC. And all of it is federally still classified as Schedule 1, as THC. So if the federal government says, oh, now it's hemp-derived THC is also illegal, look, federal government, you don't do anything about cannabis-derived THC. The individual states still have the capacity to sell cannabis-derived THC. The issue is hemp-derived THC is, as you say, practically unregulated in most states. You can buy it at gas stations. Kids are not necessarily not allowed to buy it. Yeah, there needs to be some form of regulation. But now that it's so established in the marketplace, how do you make that happen? And how do you make it happen equitably? And how do you, for people who have already invested the money into branding and stuff like that, I feel for them. But
Totally.
I mean, you got into the game knowing that this could happen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and that is true. That is true. People got in. No one could. I know people who got in and are now retired at a very young age from it. They got in and they got out.
From the hemp-derived THC game?
From the THC game.
THC,
From the legal here but not legal federally game. You know, I mean, I guess when the music stops, you know, I hope that's not the case. I really do. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they say they have a year. The way I heard was that they have a year to kind of figure something out. Is there any likelihood of that happening?
I don't
Your
know if
opinion?
anyone knows. I
Okay.
have no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I would imagine so, but
To speculate is kind of a dead end. You don't really know where this is going to go.
especially in this political climate.
It'll come down to, by the time it's being enforced, then there will be a lawsuit, and it could come from a state guild like Illinois to challenge the regulation, and that's just the way things work.
Right.
That you can say arbitrary restriction, that there's all sorts of different ways you can approach it, and that can mean that you may consider keeping your products on the market. It could mean that you may want to bring out new products thinking that we're going to win this lawsuit, but it's just a crapshoot like you can't believe.
Right.
And for distributors especially, the distributors are so cautious about bringing these onto the market because they don't fall under the same contractual obligations
Right.
as alcohol does. So if you bring out a THC-based brand that's successful, there's nothing stopping you as the producer from backing out of one specific distributor and going to self-distro or to another distributor.
Or shipping direct.
Yes.
I mean, that's what some of the NA breweries did.
Right.
They got, you know, they had distribution deals and then said, you know what, we're not with you anymore.
Athletic. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Athletic.
Yeah.
The big growth section now is not necessarily THC-based beverages. It is things like probiotics, prebiotics, nootropics that are supposed to help your thought processes. All these, and they're in many cases sort of energy drink based. So they will have calcium, they'll have sodium, they'll have all these things in that are based like Powerade and Gatorade and all this different stuff that breweries are smart enough to go, we've got a packaging line. We can print money here by coming out with different types of beverages based on marketing. Let's bring this into the marketplace and find our distribution network and use our existing distribution network to put this into the market. again, the problem is by the time a distributor puts forth the effort to actually get those products into the marketplace, that producer can simply go, it's not the same as alcohol. We aren't bound to keep this with you. We can go direct distro. We can go to a different distro.
Well, so don't you think? I always worry about when small breweries, start playing in games that are less regulated, where like they think that it's going to be just like selling beer to someone.
Yep.
And you know what? Like Coca-Cola can pay a grocery store to put their stuff where they want to put it. And like a lot of these other industries are very differently competitive. And we always look at regulation as like being a hindrance to what we're allowed to do. But a lot of times it's a hindrance to what larger breweries are allowed to do that allow us more space in the marketplace.
Yes.
So like if you think you're going to make Powerade out of your small brewery and that's what's going to save you, like Powerade's doing a great job. Gatorade's doing a better job.
Can you imagine, though, bringing out Powerade with lion's mane mushroom in it? And you go, lion's mane mushroom has this amazing thing that it does for you. Sure. Or some sort of additive that you just make these claims on, because there's a lot of that happening now.
I think someone's going to do that.
They are doing it.
And then 100 people will do it. 1,000 people will do it. 5 of them will sell out to a bigger concern who's probably themselves trying to sell to Coca-Cola. And maybe 2 of those companies will sell, and like that's what'll happen. And then the rest will stop making their lion's mane soda. That's just...
Can a brewery do that? Because those are FDA regulated beverages. They have nutritional statements. Can a brewery that is licensed and regulated by the TTB make those kinds of beverages?
Yeah.
They're setting up to do it.
Yeah.
They're absolutely setting up to do it.
Gatorades with mushrooms and stuff?
Oh, yes. I mean, you look at what Octopi is doing. Octopi is formulating stuff like that for people that have marketing strength. And they're just one of, there's a magazine called BevNet, which is produced by Brewbound. It's free. And if you're in brewing, I would strongly suggest looking up BevNet and getting this. And you would not believe the amount of co-packers and contract brewers and recipe formulators and beverage producers that are advertising in this stuff, because it's all about come into the market with a good idea for how a package looks, where it's positioned within a grocery store or retailer, and especially in a convenience store. C-stores are still growing strong, and they're a great place to position new products for anyone that's buying something for an event, going to a party. And you can go into a C-store, and 7-Eleven is the best place to buy Reese's peanut butter anything, and also a vast selection of different stuff you can try the first time in a small pack.
Well, there are breweries who have separate spaces for the intention of packaging certain things that can be regulated by that are regulated by the FDA.
Sure.
So it's like the only thing that needs to happen is you can send the product you could be made in a brewery, it could be sent to a different facility, and as long as it's packaged in those 4 walls, it falls out of the TTB jurisdiction. So I mean, there's just it's like endless. It's mind-boggling. The head spins,
I was walking past a liquor store 2-3 weeks ago on Broadway close to home, and they had a display of Mars products, not the candy company, but Mars the brewery. And my God, I could not believe the diversity of different Mars products.
Well, yeah. I mean, them especially. I mean, we'll see. I mean, getting into a C-store is easier said than done. I mean, all I need to do is get into Target, and then I'll be rich. Easier said than done, I would imagine. I just have to be,
most of the breweries that exist in the United States are, making less than 1,000 barrels of beer. So, I don't know what the real pivot to any of this
to Lion's Mane, Powerade.
Do you think that hemp-derived THC beverages have replaced, I feel like they have replaced hard seltzers for brewery productions. Do you
Yeah, I
foresee
think so.
them
I think they
becoming
outpaced
the
it.
same fate? Do you see hemp-derived THC beverages losing steam the same way that craft hard seltzers did?
I don't unless there's regulation.
I think because the seltzer people could just jump to a cheaper, basically replacement level product in like a White Claw or something, right? I don't know if there's like a cheap, because like it's so state to state. The hemp derived THC thing was the only thing I've seen that was like even remotely like craft brewing in those things, right? There couldn't be one big national player that was going to come in and eat your lunch. But
so unless there's regulation that says you can't or you 100% can, as long as it's in this gray area, I think it's going to stick around. I think there's going to be competition within that. I mean, you're seeing a ton of it now already with more people kind of getting involved. But I think if the doors flung open or snapped shut, then that it'll seriously affect it.
I also have a friend who is the head of, I think what's his title? The head of adult beverages for Foxtrot. And they literally changed the title because of THC. And where things would come and go, and he would be joking about how like the nootropics, like you were talking about earlier, were like so hot 2 months ago, and now like they couldn't sell them to save their lives, or any of the things that are supposed to be like, you know, making you a brain genius. And you know, they were popular, they weren't. Yeah, even CBD like came and went because it didn't. You know, what people really want is to be altered. They just want to be altered differently, right? It's not like they're actually sober.
They want a microdose, baby.
Right. But THC is the one that actually has stuck really heavily there, at least maybe until Wednesday. But so I think it has more legs. I think there's also, it's one of the only ones that has even close to the same culture that beer has or that wine would have, where there's like a connoisseurship to it. It really wasn't for like there are people who love weed so much that they're like tell you it tastes like brulee cheesecake or whatever.
Yeah, but that's cannabis. That's not hemp-derived THC.
Sure, fair. But some of that culture bleeds over into it, right? Where like you hear about people that are connoisseurs of this thing, so then you go and you get the green tea matcha version of the hemp-derived THC beverage, and you can pretend like you're having like an artisanally, or I guess you are having an artisanally made product. But it's still just none of that stuff has the same culture to it.
I get the feeling there are a lot of people coming into the market of trying THC beverages as well who don't really use THC on a regular basis, and they touch on this in on one of the episodes of BeerNet. There's a woman who was a former public relations person for ABI, well known, who backed out of ABI about 6 years ago before the Dylan Mulvaney incident. And she talks about this. And she says that people don't know how to dose properly.
Right.
When they buy it, they're buying it for the first time, and they don't really know what volume they're buying and what they're supposed to take. So there's degree of experimentation that goes on with beverages that you start at something like about 2.5 or 3 milligrams. And it's a curiosity of a new product group that people are looking at that just didn't exist before. And we look at this as though, oh God, it's somewhere between non-alcoholic beverages and D9 beverages. Look at all the growth. Non-alcoholic beer is still less than 1.5% of the total U.S. market. It's just insignificant, yet its growth by dollars has been substantial. D9 and THC products have grown substantially, but they represent a real small section of the market.
Right.
And so any loss of it is not necessarily going to be that damaging to anything other than the people who are already producing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think you're right.
That dosing problem is interesting to me too, because alcohol is the same thing. You just tend to go through that when you're, 14 to 22,
Sure.
And you figure out how much you're supposed to drink, and you figure out how much, is too much. And
but But you do that. You did that with alcohol on a social level, that you were banging back stuff that rational people wouldn't normally do because you're young and stupid and your cerebral cortex is not developed or whatever the hell it is.
Some of us, it never does.
And I think for THC users or people being introduced to it, they want to go, okay, 2.5, now I'm going to try 5 because 2.5 just made me mellow. And I saw they use an example of a can that was 45 milligrams.
Right.
And I know my THC 45 milligrams is elephant tranquilizer, right?
Yeah.
So you buy the wrong product in the first place, it's going to drive you away from that like you can't believe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, to your point, Keith, think about it this way, though, and I do know this to be certain, is that the T8, like, because of lack of third-party testing, you can buy something that says 5 milligrams that might have zero effect on you, or you can buy something that's 5 and it can, make you feel a certain way. But I think it's such a gold rush for a hot second that people were overlooking that this needs to be packaged just like beer. It needs to be. Oxygen can break down the THC and give you much lesser. So I think that in itself makes that target like constantly moving. If you're not knowing that, getting your product from or your THC beverage from a very reputable source, there's, it can be packaged incorrectly and you can, you won't really know what you're getting.
Right.
And I think that's part
I've
of
heard there's like solubility issues too, or it's not super water soluble. So if you're batch dosing it, then you're going to be getting a lot in some cans and not as much in others.
Yeah, it needs to be. It might be an emulsion when you get it, but it needs to be constantly agitated during packaging, or else you'll get different concentrations. It'll stratify
or dosed individually.
Or dosing in the can would be. A more consistent way to do it, but people are still trying to figure this stuff out.
It's a new market, that's for sure. And you have rapid onset THC versus non-rapid onset THC. There's all sorts of different things that are kind of working against it. But if we could freely play in that space still, if we didn't have legal restrictions, then you can get to the point where you can reliably produce things that contain THC and give people an enjoyable experience. We'll see where it all goes, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think we're coming to the end, aren't we, Mike?
I will say this. I remember I did this show with Ed.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was about 2 years ago, and he handed me a can. He's like, it's Delta 9, very confidently, and it was like 10 milligrams. And I went home and had like 3 sips of it and just like sat on the couch and just was super paranoid and just did not have an enjoyable time. So I don't know. It's not for me.
Yeah. I don't partake much in those hemp-derived beverages.
I've never
either.
had one.
I've had half of one.
I have to
can.
get one now just in case they get banned, but it's really not my thing.
I've had half of a can, and I gave the other half to my wife and asked her, did you feel anything? She's like, yeah, I just made me sleepy. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I might have told her it was CBD, but I was like, did you feel anything? Just to see.
Just lying to your wife and dosing her with THC.
A half a can, so it was, like 2.5 milligrams, and it just made her tired.
Yeah.
So, yes.
The predictability of the experience is important. That's why trusty old beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's going to remain undefeated, I feel like. There are blips here and there, but there's just also just something about THC that is not communal the way beer is, where, like, I feel like the use case for the THC is typically someone buying one and going home and drinking it by themselves or with one other person that they know really well. Whereas beer, you tend to you do that too sometimes. I do, but you gather around it. You drink a few of them. Like it's just different, and
Yes.
just because they
Vibes.
look similar or
As
are
the kids would say.
made by the same people doesn't necessarily mean that they're replacement
Yeah.
products.
Yeah.
As energy inefficient as beer is, it's gonna be around for a long time.
Very emotionally efficient.
Yes. I think so. I think so too. Well, is there anything you would like to say before we get out of here, Mr. Shalal?
No.
Okay.
The gummies have finally kicked in.
Yeah.
What? Wait, what have we been recording?
Don't worry about it.
I love you guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
You guys
I love
are just,
you.
you guys are the best.
Jacob, thank you so much for coming on and for taking time out of your vacation up in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
Beautiful Hudson Valley.
Yes, beautiful Hudson Valley.
I'm always a little bit working. Never totally off.
Yeah, sadly, I'm the same way.
Tis the nature of the beast, I suppose.
Yes. Mr. Lemcke.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very much welcome. What's up, dude?
I don't know,
Good
man.
to see you.
I don't know.
I mean, I did see you sitting at the bar just a couple days ago, but good
What
to
are
see
the
you here.
odds? Me
Yeah.
sitting at a bar.
But thank you for coming on. It was serendipitous timing, I believe.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure it will not be the last time that you are on this show.
We look forward to the future.
Yes. With that note, I guess I'll hand it over to Mike to finish us out while I bring Serge in here for a little bit to say so long.
Bye.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.